Is there a difference?
There is a difference.
What is the difference?
So
Tell
middle
me, sir.
school is 6, 7, 8. Junior high is 7, 8, 9.
Really?
Yes.
皆さんこんにちは、アーサーです。いつも IU-Connect の動画をご覧いただき誠にありがとうございます。今回の動画はですね、あなたのリスニングを鍛えるためにネイティブ同士の会話をお届けしたいと思います。で、いつも通りに僕のアメリカ人の友達のオースティンさんとの会話になります。で、今回のトピックスは日本の小学校とアメリカの小学校の違いだったんですが、実を言うとですね、お互いの小学校の話をたくさんシェアしていて、ちょっとトラウマになった経験もたくさんシェアしたので、とても懐かしい会話になりました。I hope you find it helpful. もともとこの会話は The Austin and Arthur Show という別の YouTube チャンネルで公開したものだったんですが、そのチャンネルでは日本語の字幕と英語の字幕がなかったので、ちょっとハードルが高い会話だと思います。今回はあなたの理解度、あなたのリスニングを確認するために日本語と英語の字幕を両方つけましたので、ぜひそれを使って自分のリスニング、自分の理解度をご確認ください。で、これからはですね、他に話してほしいトピックスとか気になる話題がありましたら、ぜひコメント欄でシェアしてください。We are looking for new topics and we want to hear from you. Anyways, let's get started. 3, 2, 1, go! Come on.
Right, cheers, man.
Cheers.
So this is the topic we're going to talk about today is a recommendation from our camera assistant who doesn't want us to use her name in public.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But she was talking about games we played in elementary school and like what elementary school was like growing up overseas versus Japan. But have you had any interaction with elementary school students?
Here in Japan, no.
Okay.
No, I primarily work with high school students and junior high school students.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't say I haven't had any interaction. So the only interaction that I have is entrance exams.
Mm-hmm.
Or Setsumeikai, so like the kind of like open school events where like families and kids will come.
Yeah.
And what I have found when dealing with elementary school students is I feel really bad for elementary school teachers.
Really? Oh, for teachers?
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Their job sounds so hard. Because I'll tell you, entrance exams are fine because when the 6th graders come and take entrance exams to get into my school, it was actually crazy. We had 1,000 students come.
Wow.
Last entrance exam, which it was a practice exam back in November.
Okay.
We're going to have another one in February. 1,000 students. I think it's actually 1,200 students are going to be coming to my school.
Wow.
It's crazy, man. But anyways, those are fine because the kids are all nervous, so they'll listen to whatever you say because they just don't want to make any mistakes.
Yeah, right.
But when it's the open school event, like they're a lot more casual about things because they know that it doesn't really matter what they do here.
Okay.
And so it's actually kind of hard to control the group sometimes because like sometimes the kids will just like go off and do their own thing, and it's like try getting a child to like sit down and pay attention for 30 minutes is pretty difficult. So I have a lot of respect for elementary school teachers.
So for you though, so you and I, we kind of grew up in two different worlds, right?
Yeah.
So up until 2nd grade, so in the States, elementary school is 5 years, right? Is 5th grade elementary school for you?
6.
No.
5th grade is elementary school, but also 6th grade is.
Really? Because for me, 6th grade was middle school.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, 5th grade was my last year of international school. Well, so I went to so when I
Oh, okay. So the difference is you went to middle school, I went to junior high.
Is there a difference?
There is a difference.
What is the difference?
So
Tell
middle
me, sir.
school is 6, 7, 8. Junior high is 7, 8, 9.
Really?
Yes.
This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Really?
I'm 31, and this is the first time I thought there was no difference.
There is a difference.
Why? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like you should just have it like everyone. Man, so you went to, okay. So there's a difference between junior high In middle school.
Yeah.
I was today years old when I figured that out.
Arthur, it's really great. I'm an English teacher. I can teach you.
Please
I can
teach
teach
me
you
your
about
ways.
American culture.
Yeah, please teach me. I'm foreign born, so I can't be president of the United States. But yeah, so up until second grade, I was in Germany, and I went to international school for the first few years of school, and then I went to school in a small town north of Boston.
Yeah.
For third grade and fourth grade, and then I went to a private Christian school for fifth grade.
Wow.
Through middle school, but it wasn't like one of the high class ones. It
Yeah.
was more of like you want to send your kids to a good school, but you don't have so much money, so it was like a private school in one of the poorer areas that I went to. But yeah, so our uniform was just like t-shirts. I still have one of the t-shirts actually
that's
here.
so ghetto.
Yeah, I know. There's t-shirts with the school logo on it. But it's funny because actually
Yeah.
I have one of the t-shirts now as an exercise shirt that I can still use today because I was so much fatter back in middle school.
That's funny.
Yeah. So what was your experience in school?
So actually very similar to you, but
Okay.
instead of moving locations,
Mhm.
I moved around in I guess I would categorize it as class structure.
Okay.
So when I started going to elementary school, I went to school in I don't remember the school district, but regardless, it was kind of like a lower end school district, and it was like kind of like, I wouldn't say poor kids, but
should we talk about like the school district system in the United States? Because that's different from Japan.
Is it?
Right? I think so. So in Japan, I guess from 中学校から you can change, but like in America, elementary school, middle school, or junior high, or high school, you have to be in the town that you live in.
That's what I thought, because I know junior high here in Japan, like typically you'll like try to choose specific schools to go into, and it's usually to schools that are related to the high school that you want to go to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying, in America, it's like even all the way through high school, it's literally you're going to the district that you're paying taxes to.
Right. Yeah, so a lot of families in America will move to a location that has a good school because that's the school that they can send their kids to for free.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly. So the place that I lived is the school district was kind of poor.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say it was poor, but it was like definitely lower end. Because so this was like, do you know Mount Lake Terrace? Do you know,
like Mount Lake Terrace. Yeah.
So it was like that school district. It was like Linwood School District. And so I started going to elementary school there, and most of the kids were from like low income families there.
Wait, did you used to live in Linwood?
No, but I lived in. So I've always lived in Bothell, which is like a really small town near Seattle. But the area that we lived in was like just like on the edge of like Linwood School District.
Okay. So it was like right there. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's where the bus would always take you.
Okay.
So I remember going to that school, and like I said, most of the kids were like from like low income families. Like one of my really good friends growing up was like, he lived right next to the school. His family was like super poor. I think his parents are actually homeless now. It's actually kind of sad. Yeah, so it's like I grew up with those, like that kind of people, and my mom was like really against that. She wanted me to go to a better school, so she actually pulled me out, and we went to North Shore School District, which is if you know Seattle, North Shore is like one of the high end school districts.
So what area is North Shore?
So North Shore, so the high school is Inglemoor. If you know Inglemoor, like, do you know Kenmore?
Kenmore, I know Kenmore,
okay.
yeah.
So Kenmore and Inglemoor are like right next to each other, but like Inglemoor is like really rich people area.
I just got to tell you something. So I'm probably because we've already been drinking this, but I'm so confused now because I live in the North Shore of, like, the area I live in is called North Shore.
North Shore.
And there's a
completely different place.
And there's an area in Boston called Kenmore, which is where the Red Sox field is. So I'm just like, Kenmore, do you know Kenmore? I'm like, oh yeah, I know. Wait, no, we're talking about. Okay, so
That's
this is
funny.
like So tell me about like this area called Kenmore.
So Kenmore is actually a really poor area.
Okay.
Like really poor. And when I'm talking about poor, I'm not talking about like inner city poor. I'm talking about kind of like poor, like for lack of a better way, like poor white people area.
Yeah.
Like there's trailer parks there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of forest, like it's really low income apartments, that kind of thing. But next to that is Inglemore, which is actually separated by a bridge.
Yeah.
And it's on the other side of Lake Washington from it.
Okay.
But they're both on the tip of Lake Washington.
Okay. So
And
like on the north side.
yeah.
Okay.
And Inglemore is like the exact opposite. It's like super, super rich people area. And so my mom wanted me to go to North Shore.
Okay.
So she pulled me out of school when I was in third grade and put me in North Shore School District. So I swapped elementary schools halfway through, and the experience was really different.
Yeah.
So I remember back when I was going to like the poor school,
Yeah.
I remember one of my first memories is I had a girlfriend in second grade,
Okay.
right? And
In
I
second
would
grade, how cute.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like one of those elementary school
Yeah.
like relationships where
Yeah.
it's like you guys don't really know what like boys and girls are supposed to do
You
together,
like each other.
but
yeah.
you just like play together,
Yeah.
you know? So I had a girlfriend, and I remember there was this kid who transferred to our school. He's actually from Ukraine, and he was so popular because he was different.
Yeah. Right.
Like, you know,
That's
it's
how
like
it always is, man.
he had this accent, like he was tall, like all the girls in my class liked him, and including my girlfriend at the time, and it really irritated me.
Okay.
So like I was so fed up with it one day that I'm ashamed to admit this, but it's actually kind of funny. I was so fed up with it, so I took my backpack and I put like school books in my backpack.
Yeah.
And we finished school one day, and I walked up to him and just hit him with my
What?
backpack. Yeah. So
No.
I was done with it. I was done with
Man.
this. I was done with his charm. I was done with it. I wasn't having any of it.
Man, you violent Irish dude. Seriously.
So I hit him with my backpack, and we got into this huge fight. And when I say huge fight, it's like two second graders fighting each other, right?
Yeah.
But I got what's called an in-school suspension because of it. And so what that is like normally during a suspension, you're not allowed to come to the school. But in school, it's like I had to spend all day in the school office with the principal.
Yeah.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
So one of my neighbors comes in, and my neighbor, I know them really well because usually like I would get babysat by them when my parents were out, and their daughters all went to this school also, and so I'm really familiar with them, and I know like it was my neighbor and her husband that I know, and so she comes in and she's like picking up her daughter, and I wish I never made this statement, but she comes in. She's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm here to pick up my daughter. I'm sorry, I'm late. I told you I was gonna come at noon, but it's 1:00 right now." And I'm just like, or she's like, "Yeah, my husband was supposed to pick her up, but he was busy today." And I know her husband, and guy's a construction worker.
Okay.
He works really hard, but it's like my memories of him is like sitting in front of the TV in his underwear drinking beer.
Yeah.
And so that's what I said. I'm like, oh yeah, he's probably busy drinking beer in his underwear, watching TV. And like the entire office just unanimously looked at me in shock, in horror. Because like they didn't know that I knew her really well.
Yeah.
And so she's like laughing about like, dude, you're so screwed now. Like you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
So she thought it was funny. But like the entire office, including the principal, heard that. And they're just like, you are just a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And so it was like it was right at that moment that I think my mom kind of realized like, oh, maybe this school's not the best influence on this guy. So I transferred into an elementary school in 4th grade.
Okay.
And I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And that is like horrifying as a child.
As a child.
Going in, especially in 4th grade, so it's like you're like almost done with elementary school at that point.
Yeah, I transferred schools in 4th grade too.
It sucks having to make friends again.
Yeah, because everyone's already made their friends. You know, they've been together for years, but then you're like the alien coming in. You know, I get that.
Yeah, and there's just so many small things that matter so much in elementary school. Like I remember, you know what? I have no shame, so I'll tell this story. So I remember in 4th grade, something that was really embarrassing is. I remember there was we were having a presentation in class, and our teacher was talking. I forget what the subject was, but there was a lot of sound, and we were watching some videos. And I remember all of a sudden there was complete silence in the classroom, and I think it's because like this was at the time like before we had like YouTube and everything, right? So the teacher had to like swap out VHS, and at the time it was completely silent, and it just so happened right at that moment that I farted.
No, in 4th grade?
In 4th grade,
dude, I have a story to tell you after this. Keep on going.
So I farted right when that happened, and it was pure silence, and everyone in the class heard it. And they immediately looked at me like it was. There was no question of who was the one who did it, and I was so embarrassed by it that I actually like went into the bathroom and like hid for like 30 minutes.
Wow.
But yeah, so like my experience like in 4th grade was horrible,
dude. I just need to share. Maybe this is one of the reasons why we're brothers, kind of. But like, so I had kind of a similar situation to you. So I moved from Germany to the States in 3rd grade. I go to a really local school. Yeah. And people are like, oh, you're from Germany. Are you a Nazi? And I was like, no, I'm not even German. I'm not even German. They're like, but you come from Germany, right? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not German. Why do you speak English so good? Because I'm American. Then why are you from Germany? And it's just like, it was really weird. So we were living at my grandparents' house at that time, but then my parents found a house in another town. So for 4th grade, I moved to a new school, and there was a kid who lived on the street that we were going to move to. Yeah, his name was Nick Roth, and he's the beginning of like so much trauma in my life. But so like in 4th grade at my school, so like in my hometown. Bless you. Sorry. It's okay. Do you need a tissue?
No, I'm okay.
Got tissues for
I'm
you.
okay.
Sure. No. So in my hometown, we had like one high school, 2 middle schools, and like 4 elementary schools. Yeah. And now there's like 2 elementary schools because like birth rate, whatever. Yeah. But so I went to one of the elementary schools, and I moved in just like you. I didn't know anyone. Yeah, and I was just making friends, and this guy Nick was living on my street, so I figured, I'll try to be friends with him. And so in
first mistake,
seriously. So in our 4th grade class, every like day or so, we would have this period called math baseball, which was like
that's weird.
Which was like a game that kind of resembled baseball, but it was done with math on paper. Like, I don't know how it worked anymore even, but it was called math baseball to make it sound more interesting. But, so just one thing to remind people if they don't know how the school system works in America. So in America, normally, in elementary school, you have one teacher that teaches all of the subjects. Yeah. And you're all in the same room the whole time. So you don't have different teachers. Nope. You're just the same person.
Except for the PE teacher.
Except for the
That's
PE
the only
teacher.
difference.
Yeah, right. And you go to the gym for that. Yep. But yeah, so we were playing math baseball, and me and Nick, we were off in the corner of the room doing our math baseball game, and it was just 2 of us, and people kind of far away from us. And Nick farts so loud, everyone turns and looks at us, and I'm looking at Nick, and Nick's like looking at me. He doesn't know what to do, and then he goes, "Oh, Arthur!"
Oh my God, he just threw you under the bus.
Seriously. And so after that day, I had the reputation of being the farter. So I would walk through the hallways, and kids I didn't even know would go like, "Oh, Arthur!" as I was walking down the hallway, man. It got around the whole school. No kids would play with me because I was the fart boy, even though I didn't. It was Nick that did that. And I remember, this was really traumatizing for me, but I'm glad we could talk about it now.
Dude,
so I
this
had
is like a therapy session.
Seriously, I had like one friend
Yeah.
who we would hang out, we would talk during recess, and we would do field trips where we'd go hiking or something, we'd go out in nature, and we would hang out and we would talk. And I remember one time on the recess field, he's like, "Hey Arthur, I gotta talk to you about something." I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Hey dude, I can't be friends with you anymore because people make fun of me because I hang out with you." And I'm like, "What? Really?" And so I lost my one friend because he was like, "Oh yeah, kids make fun of me because I hang out with you." I'm like, oh, "Okay, that's terrible, but okay." And you know what's really funny though is like, so because I had such a traumatic experience, my parents moved me to that private school I talked about for middle school. And then I remember in ninth grade for high school, I went back to that same school district.
Yeah.
And I saw all the kids from that bullied me in the past.
Yeah.
And they didn't even really remember me. They're like, "Oh yeah, you were that weird kid who like was there for a year and then you're gone, now you're back. Hey, what's up?" Like, "You don't remember what happened?" They're like, "Yeah, well, I mean, we made fun of you a little bit, but yeah, I don't remember too much." And I was like, I'm like scarred big time from this,
Dude, it's so funny how it's so true though.
Yeah.
Like people, like traumatic events will happen, and then you'll like meet somebody that like was there during the time that happened at the school, and it's like, yeah, I mean that happened, but who cares?
Yeah, right.
Whatever. We're junior high students now, so it's like.
Have you witnessed like ijime or bullying in your school?
Oh God, yes.
Dude, can you tell me about that? Because I know it's bad, but I don't know details about that.
So, I will go off and state, first of all, you don't really experience it in high school here in Japan, which it's actually kind of interesting because I think bullying is like a really big thing in high school in America.
Really? Because I had the opposite experience.
Oh, really?
Like I thought like the bullying really happens in like middle school or elementary school.
Yeah, I think it like definitely happens in elementary school. I think it's most prevalent in middle school, but I think it depends on where you live.
Okay.
But it definitely happens in high school. Not my high school though, because I was at a private school.
Yeah, right.
It was all nerds, so like you're gonna get bullied by some kid who's good at math. Like,
yeah, right. You can't do calculus.
I got an A in my class. You
got a B minus.
Like, yeah. But yeah, here in Japan, you don't see bullying at all in high school.
Okay.
Like, just no one cares.
Really? Okay.
Like everyone's busy studying and getting ready for college, like even in first year of high school. But in junior high, especially, so this is my school's transferring to an international school, and we're co-ed from next year. So I don't have any experience with boys, but girls are horrible.
Yeah.
They are so mean to each other. So here's an example, right? So this was several years ago. Actually, the class that I'm talking about is graduating in March.
Okay.
They're my homeroom class.
Okay.
And this was back when they were was it Chuichi? Yeah, it was Chuichi.
Okay.
So they were junior high, so this would be 7th graders. Right? So they're 7th graders. So all the girls are like 11, 12 years old. And there was one girl in the class with, this might be mean to say, but thank God she transferred schools when she went to high school, because she was, oh God, she was just the most horrible human being I've ever met in my life.
Okay.
And so there was this one girl in class, and she was obsessed with ranking the students.
Like the students, okay.
Yeah, so she posted on Twitter a ranking of the prettiest girls in class.
Okay. And
just publicly like attached that, or I don't know how Twitter works, but she like made it so the entire school can see it. Okay. So I guess she like added my school. Yeah. Or whatever. She made it so the entire school could see. Yeah. And it was like, here's the prettiest girl in class, here's the ugliest girl in class, and just like full on just a 1-page Microsoft Word document. Okay. And just posted that. Wow. And it's like, dude, that is like some mentally scarring stuff.
Yeah, right. Right. Especially like, if you're like the last one.
Yeah, so it's like when it comes to like boys versus girls at that age, it's like I'd much rather be a boy, because like at the worst, if you're a boy, like you just get in a fight and get beat up and it's
did you
done.
Get in fights in school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like nothing after that one incident in second grade, like nothing like that I got in trouble over.
Okay.
But it's like you get in like, you know, altercations, like it's just being a boy.
You get sometimes like you rough them up a bit.
Yeah.
You know. Actually, so speaking about that, like actually probably one of the reasons why I had such a bad reputation in school was because I took the high road.
Oh, really?
So yeah, because I was like, there was this one kid in my school. His name was Mike Eller. I think he's like, he got some girl pregnant or something. Never went to college or something like that.
Okay.
But even back when we were in fourth grade together, he was a pretty trouble kid. Like, you know how like in high school you have like the druggies who like go behind the school and smoke pot and stuff. Like he was one of those kids,
okay.
Right? But this was back in elementary school before all that. I was making a joke and like people were laughing and he's like, Arthur, it's not funny, stop it. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it anyways because it's funny, because I like making jokes. He's like, shut the up. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. He's like, you want to go? You want to go? I'm like, yeah, I want to go. And I'm like, because this kid was short too, and I could totally take this kid. Like, I knew I could beat the crap out of this kid, right? Like, it was no contest.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is, so my teacher was out of the room for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that was when this altercation happened. So Mike was like, "You want to go? You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. I can beat the crap out of you, man. You're like this tall on me." So we get to the front of the class and everyone's like cheering, like, "Go, go, go, go! Yeah, beat the blah, blah, blah," right?" And at that moment, I have like a mind shift where I'm like, you know what, dude, this is stupid. I'm not gonna fight you. Like, this isn't gonna solve anything. It was weird. I just changed right there in front of everyone. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, I'm not going to fight you, man. You can hit me if you want, but I'm not going to fight you. He's like, what? So he like hits me in the face. Yeah. And then he starts kicking me while I'm on the floor. And I'm not doing anything because like, I didn't want to fight. And he's like, oh yeah, whatever, you wussy. Like, you're not even going to fight back, you little blah, blah, blah. And then the teacher comes in and stuff, but I let him beat me up. And so I guess like from there, people were like, oh yeah, this kid doesn't fend for himself or whatever. But like,
dude, you're screwed.
Yeah, right? Yeah, super screwed, right? Yeah, but I was just like, no, if I really went, I could like kill this kid. I didn't want to do that, you know? Yeah. So like, I just let him beat me up instead. And then that ruined my reputation in school.
I'm not proud to admit this, but I was a bully.
I was a bit of a bully too when I was younger too.
I was throughout elementary school. And I think part of that was moving to a new school. Yeah. So I tried to like act tough.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I was in the beginning, you know?
So like going to our new school, like I just tried to pick on anybody who was like lesser status than me, just to try and elevate myself.
Well, dude, I mean, so when you get it, so one of the reasons why I'm really happy working by myself is I don't have to deal with like the workplace politics and crap like that, right? Because, you know, if you go to school, if you go to jail, if you go to work and you're interacting with all these people, there are people who try to set this pecking order, this hierarchy. And
oh, definitely.
I mean, you remember when you and I first came into the school and like there was this one guy who was trying to like raise seniority over me and trying to put me in my place, and I didn't let him. But then when I met you and you had your mask down and like it was below your nose, I'm like, dude, you got to put your mask up. That was me trying to like assert my position over you. I'm like, I'm not going to let this guy manhandle me. I'm
your senpai. You're not allowed to like tell me to put my mask on.
No. I know that. But it's like it's funny how those dynamics work, and it even works that way in middle school.
I know.
It's just it never like adults are really just big babies.
They are. So you know it's really funny. So there's this band that I really like that I used to listen to when I was a high school student. Have you ever heard of Bowling for Soup?
Yeah, Bowling for Soup. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So they have a song that's called "High School Never Ends." Do you know that song?
I haven't heard that one.
So it's High School Never Ends, and basically the gist of the song is, yeah, you guys graduated high school, but like we're all still high schoolers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're all still like emotional people who care about whatever, like what other people think and everything. And I really think that's true.
Yeah.
Like you can be 45 years old and you'll still care about what other people think. You'll care about your image, like especially as a man, like you're probably balding at that point, so you're like really self-conscious or self-conscious. God, I'm super drunk now. You're self-conscious of your image at that point, and so you're like trying to compensate by like buying stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because I think it's completely true.
Yeah.
And it's just like your experiences through especially I would say elementary school and junior high really shape who you are as a person.
Yeah, right.
I think a big reason why I am so comfortable living here in Japan is because I moved I didn't physically move, but I moved schools
like
so many
yeah.
times that I had to constantly restart relationships.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I'm very good at making friends. I could go into a room of people I don't know and come out with a friend.
Yeah, yeah.
It's no problem for me. But on the other hand, a lot of the relationships that I form tend to be really shallow.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not good at forming like deep relationships with people because I don't really have any experience with that. You know what I mean?
Dude, are you describing me or describing yourself?
Well, I think we both have very similar situations.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason why foreigners move to Japan.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about people who move here because their work transferred them here. I'm talking about people who actively choose to move to Japan.
To live here, yeah.
I think by and large, a majority of the people are in similar situations as we were.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not necessarily that I felt uncomfortable living in America, but I didn't have any problem removing my attachments.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, so like in my situation, right? So like I went to kindergarten and first couple years in Germany, and kindergarten I was the foreigner, and people were like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah.
And then I went to elementary school where every year everyone moves, so you have to make new friends every year.
Yeah.
And then I moved to the States. Then the next year I moved to a different school district.
Mm.
Then the next year I moved to a different school district.
Yeah.
Then after 3 years I moved to another school district, right?
Yeah.
And that really has set me up to being like, you know, for up until probably about 7th grade, I really tried to make friends and try to integrate myself with the people around me. And I realized that that's just not going to work because I am so different from other people. And so it was really like around the time when I was 11, around the time when I started actually drawing manga and anime and started getting interested in Japan I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop trying to integrate myself in this community because it's impossible. I'm just going to go do my own thing and try to handle my thing on my own, you know?
Yeah.
And even in high school, you know, it's funny because like in high school, a lot of people, you know, they have an image of who you are like, oh, this guy is this kind of a person, or this guy's a jock, or this guy's a nerd. But when people would talk about him, they're like, yeah, Arthur's like, I don't know who he is. Like he's a Christian dude, but he's like, he speaks Asian. and I don't really know what to make of Arthur. Like I was just this like question mark for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so like for me, living in a place where I am always like the anomaly, for lack of a better word, unnatural person, like this is just my element, you know?
Yeah. It's so funny how so you and I are very similar, but in some ways we're complete opposites. So in some ways how like you kind of attaching to Japan kind of set you apart. For me, it's like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So on the West Coast, we tend to have like a much higher Asian population.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Than on the East Coast. Like it's not even comparable.
Yeah.
And so for me, attaching to Japanese culture was kind of a way that I would get integrated into groups because a lot of my school, when I was in high school, I would say probably if you're looking at like race demographics, it was like probably 55% white and maybe 30 to 40% Asian.
Yeah, right.
And so we had two Japanese, so one first generation Japanese person whose parents were from Japan and he was American.
Yeah.
So he was the first American in his family. We had another girl who her whole family was Japanese, but they were like fifth generation.
Okay.
They've been in America for a long time. And then we had two students who were half Japanese. So it's like their parents, either their mom or dad was from Japan, and then their other mom or dad was American, right? And then we had a ton of Filipino students, we had a ton of Vietnamese students, some Chinese, the list goes on, right? And so for me, like attaching to like Asian culture, but more specifically Japanese culture, was like a way for me to like make friends
because
at my
there's
school.
a lot of like Asian Americans, you know? Like I remember, so my sister, because you know I come from Boston, but I went to school in Seattle, and she's like, Arthur, why are all your friends Asian?
Yeah.
Like my parents asked me the same thing, like, why are all your friends Asian? And then when my sister came to UW to visit me, and she went to the library and she looked around, she realized, oh, I'm the only white person in this room. She's like, oh, now I understand why you're friends with all these Asian people.
So it's like, you know, in many ways, like I know there's like a whole thing with like race issues going on like in America. For that's such a foreign concept to me, because I mean, you go to Seattle and it's like, you know, it's like, I'm sure if you looked at the demographics of Seattle, it's probably still majority white people living there, but it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
Like, you know, going back at my school, it's like at least half of the students at my school were Asian. So it's it was such a normal thing for me to like feel like I wasn't the majority representative here. That like when I moved to Japan, you know, I've had a lot of people come up and talk to me. It's like, what's it like being just like a white guy living in Japan? Like, you know, don't you feel weird that like no one looks like you? And it's like, I don't know, like it's not a big deal for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I'm used to. You know?
Yeah.
No, dude, this is weird. I didn't know we had that, especially the fart story. I had
do the
no
fart
idea we
story.
would connect
That's
with Man,
that's the first time I've actually publicly talked about that story.
Oh, really? Well, I'm glad you talked about that, because
Just
we
get
could
it off
bond
my
over
chest.
that moment.
Yeah.
But I think we've. Oh wow, this is like empty. Now,
we
right?
have. Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for you to open the next bottle.
I'm sorry. We'll do that later, but first we need to get lunch, man.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, see ya.
Yep.
いかがでしたか？お役に立てたらとっても嬉しいです。僕が心からあなたに望んでいるのは、英語を学ぶだけではなく、生の世界で外国人と実際に話せるようになって、広い世界に飛び込んでいただくことです。そのためにこのチャンネル、この活動をやっています。IU-Connect はこの YouTube チャンネル以外に他にもたくさんやっていますので、詳しくは You can click up here or you can click the link below this video。これからいろんな活動をやりますので、すごく楽しみにしています。As always, enjoy your English adventures. 一緒に世界とつながりましょう !See you next time!